Hey everybody, you can tell I am not in a normal spot to do this podcast. We're at the Children's Hospital with my youngest who is back on Wednesday, November 15th. And so today's podcast episode is actually about how having a blind parent prepared me for having a child with a medical needs like my son does, and doing things in public and having people stare and make comments and just how interacting with the public with somebody with a disability or a medical complexity. I feel like I've been prepared for my whole life. So join me for that. It's going to be a little choppy with everything being outside and not with all of my normal equipment, but I hope you guys enjoy.
The Crab Podcast. Here at Children Raised Around the Blind, we have two goals. Our first goal is to help those living with the blind to understand them better and to help children through the difficulties that come from living with a blind parent. Secondly, we want to spread awareness of the blind community. Here on the podcast, we will share the things that blind people can do and ways the sighted world can include them in everyday life. Join us twice a month to learn about the visually impaired community.
Okay, so quick question. If you've been following on social media, you know we uh, had our third child October the 2nd. He was born with congenital heart defects. And what we expected to be doing, we expected to have surgery right away, cleared up that initial issue. One of the secondary issues also cleared up, and what we were left with was what's called an ASD, it's the atrium septal defect. He has a giant hole in the top part of his heart between the left and right chambers. And so we were able to get ready to take him home. And after we spent 3 weeks at home, and then got sent back the other week, a couple days ago. So during that time, though, we ended up coming home with him on NG tube feed. So that's a tube that goes in the nose, and then down the back of the throat and into his stomach, which we weren't quite anticipating. We thought we'd be able to do more by mouth, but he hadn't quite shown that he was able to take that. He was getting exhausted, wasn't meeting the nutritional values needed. So we came home with something different, doing a feeding tube, and we did gravity feed. So we filled up a giant syringe that held about 2 ounces of breast milk, and then through a tube connected it to his NG tube and fed him. But he was also on feed every 40 hours. So it meant if we went out certain places or during certain times, we would have to feed him in public. So he actually left the hospital. The very first thing we ended up doing was having to do a feed in public without all of the extra equipment that I had bought. I found a CPAP machine tube holder online that had a clamp on one end that adjusted with a screw, kind of upward headed, and then had a clip on the top that I was like, we can use a rubber band and clip the feeding tube to, and it adjusts. I couldn't find what I was looking for. I know actually a friend of mine gave me a portable IV pole that's really small, fits in the diaper bag, and extends from about 14 inches up to probably close to 2 feet, say 18 inches, probably 18 to 20 inches, that we're able to use when we're out and about. But at first, we got about 20 minutes away from the hospital in traffic in Atlanta. For the view around the big city, no, it's like you're not going to get home. We had already left a bit later. We're like, it's an hour home, hour and a half of traffic, probably close to 2 hours this time of day with hearing the accident reports and things like that. So we stopped at a Chick-fil-A. We were near the playground was open because we had our other 2 kids with us, and went ahead and we're like, we're gonna need to order food and then also start designing. Okay, how do we do this? And we have no equipment. So we use the rubber band on his. We always have a rubber band on the top of the giant syringe, and so we we tied that basically around the handle of his car seat, put the car seat up on a table, and then either myself or my husband would hold him during the speed. And so we're in a public place, in a restaurant. We kind of hid around a corner so it wasn't as obvious to certain people, but there were going to still be people that would be able to see. We also where we could have a straight line of sight into the playground area, so we could keep an eye on the older kids. And so um, we got scared. We had people, looking at us trying to figure out what we were doing. We were very clumsy. We've been doing the fees in the hospital, and we knew what to do. We had an IV, an actual like IV pole in the car, but I was like, it's way too much work to try to bring that inside a restaurant on top of all of the other things we had to bring in. And so it kind of looked like a giant mess. There were, of course, kids around that were kind of looking and staring and asking their parents different questions. And I feel like for my husband, it was definitely nerve-wracking and stressful. And how do we even do this? How do we make this work? And then you have the pressures of the other kids who are super hungry. They're cranky. It's been a long day. We've been away for 3 weeks from them. Um, and yet they're excited because the baby brother's there. They want to hold a baby brother. And we're just like, I need y'all to eat and then go play. And we're hungry and starving. Wasn't a great combination, but I found once we got the feed going and ended up holding my toddler at the same time I was holding the baby doing his feed, which is kind of a weird coordination thing I had to learn to do. I definitely was not as stressed as I thought I would be being in public and having people stare at us and things. And I think it really boils down to that's been my life. Um, so if you've ever been out with somebody who has some sort of a disability, or maybe it's just not people want to call the wrong person, whether that they're blind or they have another physical disability, maybe they have a speech impediment, maybe they just physically look different. Maybe it's not a disability, they just have a different facial feature or a different walk. Like it doesn't matter. People who are different from yourself, a lot of times we come across and almost judge, or maybe it's not even judging, it's just curiosity. And so there's the stares and there's like the whispers, and people don't know if they can approach you or not. People are unsure of what's going on. What are they seeing? And if they haven't seen that before, how do I process that? How do I manage this? And so it's very interesting because as annoying as it is, that's what it's like growing up with a blind parent. I can remember many times, even on like the public transportation would take here in Atlanta. We talked about public transportation on a post last Tuesday, what it was like growing up on that, and we got scared. I think I got used to it then. Um, Even as a young toddler, like getting on the bus, like there's this blind person standing there with her white thing at a bus stop with 3-year-old usually wearing my baby brother in a sling, and she would ask for the bus number, and then we'd get on the bus and the driver would help her find a seat. We did the same thing with trains, and people just watching because there's this blind person with a white thing with kids, and much like that, traversing through the city, and we ended up doing speech at Georgia State University with my brother, and we had two of us, and part of it we ended up having the third child, or three of us. And here's my mom, sometimes with a stroller even. We'd load up, get on the bus, and then where it would drop us off was still 3 or 4 blocks from where we needed to be. And so we would walk the blocks, and then I was able to at least spell out the names of the streets for my mom so she knew where we were. And eventually we memorized, how many streets up and left, right, and where everything was. But I was used to it. I was very accustomed to people staring or, kids saying, what is that kid? Or is that person really blind? And just hearing the whispers, um, most of the time on our trips, people didn't come and actually ask us or confront us. They were kind of in the background making whispers, or parents would say, don't stare at them, um, and different things like that. And so it was different. And I think it prepared me though, because with my son, we have been at church, which most of them have been very understanding, but there's always questions when you're walking around with a child with a tube in his nose, and then you run a feed and a place where people can come by. And not so much there, but there's been a couple other places, like I mentioned the Chick-fil-A the first day. We took him home. Then I had to go to the car dealership twice now, 3 times total, but twice for actual fees. Um, where our vehicle wasn't working properly shortly after we came home, and we had just bought it right before we had the child. So haven't had a lot of time with it. Took it into the shop, and I'm sitting there with 3 kids in a corner, and there's mostly all single people or people who don't have kids, just kind of peering around watching, because we chose a corner that we normally sit in, and my other two were doing really well, not being super disruptive. They had their tablets, we had activities, all of the things that I normally do when we're out in public. And so as we were doing that, then we had to do a feed for the baby. So we had to set all that up. My daughter held um, the baby while I got the line going. Then I held him for the feed. And so different people were kind of walking by and, kind of watching, but didn't actually say anything. And there ended up being one older lady who came over and talked. She used to be a pediatric nurse, and so was very comfortable talking about the NG tube and just asking questions about my child and about, us and how the family is doing. And actually, like a person to talk to who got it, and it made me realize in that moment how many times I'm not approached by people. They may be scared, or they may be uncertain. How do you deal with somebody who's different? How do you, approach that? And we talk about that here in Fab all the time. How do you talk to blind person? How do you start that conversation? Well, the first thing is you get over yourself and your fear, and you walk up to them and you say, "Hi, my name is such and such. What's your name?" Or maybe you just say, "Hey, I noticed you in the corner. Wanted to just say hi and let you know I was here." It's the same thing across, the, the border, so to speak. Here I am, a mom with young kids, and yes, I have a kid with a feeding tube, and yes, we're setting up a feed, but just walking up and saying, "Hi, my name is such and such. What's the baby's name?" Or how's everybody doing today? Just be generic. Be open to have a conversation. And if I'm, super busy, or the parent's super busy, they may be like, "Hey, I'm such and such, but I really need to focus on this," or, "Now's not a good time for me to talk." That's fine. But you, at least, instead of ignoring them or staring them down, you actually treated them like a person. I think that's really what makes the biggest difference, at least um, for me. That's what has helped being out in public a couple times. We've been super sheltered in place, just for immune factors and trying to keep baby as healthy as possible. But there's certain things that have to get done. A vehicle that you have to drive has to you gotta do what you gotta do. Um, but I really just wanted to get on and say, you know, as much as it's different because it is my child and it's not my parent, it's the same. I've been prepared for the questions. I've been prepared for the looks. And yeah, I know a lot of parents, a lot of people, it drives them crazy. Like, you can hear people whispering about you, or you can see them. And I've just learned that people are scared no matter what it is. And this proves my point, because I'm not walking on the sideline here anymore. I'm not. I haven't even had my mom out with me with my kids in a few months, just due to circumstances and various things. But just having a child who has some medical needs and the same treatment there. So I don't think it's isolated to those who are found in care. But I think we need to get better. I think um, as people in the community, we need to be willing to talk and talk in a gentle and a kind way and just say, hey, um, yes, I'm blinded or impaired. Yes, I can't see, and be willing to at least label it and talk about it. And, hey, do you have any questions for me? I've been waiting for a little kid to have a question. Um, what is that? I had one, I went to the health department and one little boy was like, what's the tube for? I was like, that's how he eats. And his mom was really sweet. She's like, yeah, that's how it was for me when I was a baby. Remember the pictures of I had the tube in my nose? That's how they fed me my milk. He's like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like 3 years old. But the fact is, it was a teaching moment. And turning everything into a teaching and an education moment, no matter what you have going, is such a huge key. So that is my thought. It's short, it's sweet. There's a lot going on. Hopefully, you guys can hear me over the buses and the ambulances and all the things. But that is my thought for this month. Stay tuned to Crab. I'm probably not going to get a really big gift guide out there, although if I do see any sort of really great deals over Black Friday, Cyber Monday, heading into the holidays, I may share those. So stay tuned for some information coming out, but there's just too much going on in life. And, sometimes it is what it is, how it goes. So you guys stay tuned, subscribe, feel free to listen to my other podcasts. And hopefully, as things get better and I have time and ability to get on here and do more like that, you'll see that. Just a side note, if you want to help out Crab in a financial way, we do have color changing tumblers on the website. If you search for Crab Store on there, I know they're buried now, just because of all the podcast episodes. But you can go to the search box and look up Crab Store, or I believe it's childrenraisedaroundtheblind.net/crab store. I think that will take you to it. We are using Square. I tried PayPal and was having issues. So Square is there, or if for some reason the website's not working, you want to reach out to me, you can reach out through Messenger on Facebook. You can reach out through I think there's a WhatsApp link as well. I think have one for Grab. I'll have to look. Instagram message, any of those options, and say, hey, I want a tumbler, and I can send you a link to pay, and we can get those shipped out to you guys. And other than that, I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving, those of you who celebrate here in the US, and for all of those who are preparing for the holidays and Christmas. I'm excited. We will see if I can get another podcast or two up before the end of the year. And y'all have a great rest of your week. Bye.